sure if this was going to happen today. And I'll share exactly why here in about 2 seconds. So I just want to make sure that we are up and running. So today we're covering what to expect. What's real estate school like? What to expect? Because there's a lot of different things floating around, and I just want to give you a true expectation of what it's like in real estate school. Now, we're going to cover both. We're going to cover online and in person, and we're going to get right to it. Now, the reason that I'm coming on here, it's about 5:30 today. The reason we're coming on at this time is because there was no light. There was no electricity in the entire neighborhood today. So here in Texas, I'm in Dallas-Fort Worth area. A heavy snow fell upon us, and we in Texas don't know how to adjust. We don't know what that looks like. So I know that you northerners are used to a foot of snow, 2 feet of snow, 5 feet, blizzards, all that fun stuff, but we don't know how to act with 1 inch, with 2 inches of snow. So we were having a little bit of an issue, and we didn't have electricity here in my neighborhood for, I guess it came back around 3 p.m. and it's 5 p.m. right now. So I know that I'm coming in super late, so my apologies on that, but I owed it to you that I made this public, so I wanted to make sure that even though we couldn't do this at 9 a.m. Central, we are here at 5:30 without fail. I wanted to get this video out to you, and we're going to talk about real estate school, both the online real estate school and the in-person real estate school experience, because as we know, real estate, the profession of being a real estate agent can be quite lucrative, and is lucrative if you know how to get some business, advertise, brand yourself, and grow your business diligently. So it's a fantastic profession that does give you flexibility, does give you a financial reward, and big financial reward if you know how to build your business the right way. So I wanted to go ahead and share a little bit more about what that's like. Arsalan, waiting. Hey, I appreciate you. Sorry, coming in late. So hopefully you can forgive me. But with that being said, let's talk about the real estate school and what to expect. The first thing that we want to talk about is the timeline. So for those of you that are already real estate agents, and feel free to let me know in the comment section down below where you're listening from, and also if you are already a real estate agent, that's going to really help me out. But when it comes to the timeline, what to expect. I'm going to speak specifically to Texas at the moment, with the understanding that Texas is one of the most regulated and the most difficult real estate exams to pass. So we have the most requirements altogether. So whenever we go into timelines specific to Texas, understand that if you're not in Texas, chances are that your requirements are actually less. So here in Texas, you need 180 credit hours, which amounts to 30 hours separated out into 6 different courses. You have, I don't think I'm going to get all 6 of them, but you have Principles 1, Principles 2, you're going to have contracts, you're going to have law, you're going to have promulgated forms, and you're going to have something else. I can't remember what that 6th course is, but it's 180 hours of credits that you need to have before you sit for the exam. Now, with real estate school, there are various real estate schools all across the state, all across the country, that give you these credits that you need to sit for the exam. Again, I'm speaking specifically to Texas at the moment, but your state is going to look slightly similar in the terms of getting some credits and then sitting for the exam. It's really that simple. So getting credits and then sitting for the exam, there has to be some formation, some preparation before you can test. So that is going to be the same across the board. Now, you have a decision to make when it comes to real estate school. You can do it online or you can do it in person. And when it comes to the timeline, there really isn't that big of a difference if you have the time to invest in this profession. So what that means is if you have the time to invest in this, whether you are working part-time or you don't happen to have employment right now, or you're taking a sabbatical from your full-time employment and trying to get into real estate and getting these classes in, it's not going to make too big of a difference. Now, the pros and cons when it comes to the online world, you can take your credits, you can educate yourself with that flexibility of it being online, so you can get done a little bit quicker if you happen to have a full-time employment. So for Texas, we what I like to quote for real estate agents doing the online prep is you can get done within 4 to 6 weeks relatively comfortable without stressing yourself. Now, this is going to require for you to have some being disciplined enough. Let's go in here real quick. So, real estate license wizard. Hey, thanks for dropping by. Keep up the great work, Jaime. I appreciate you, real estate license wizard. When it comes to the timeline online, if you are working full time, then online may be the best route for you because it's the most convenient. You don't have to drive anywhere. You don't have to worry about scheduling or anything like that. So when it comes to the timeline, if you happen to be working, or whether that's full time or part time, then online is probably going to be the best bet for you and finishing in a relatively good amount of time. So expect to be done within 4 to 6 weeks if you are diligent with it. Now, when it comes to timeline and in-person experience, so that means that you physically go to a school to get your credits. Generally, what you're going to find, the structure there is going to be an all-day affair. So there's different structures, but I'll give you two of the most common ones that I see operated across the country. There is real estate school whenever you go in class that you have an entire day's worth of education. So it amounts to about 8 hours worth of real estate education. And then you're also going to come back the following day. So the way that real estate schools in person, again, specifically speaking of Texas at the moment, the way that they package up the 30 hours worth of credits is they give you 8 hours of in-class education, so on a Monday, and then on a Tuesday, they do another 8 hours to complement that. And you may be wondering, well, you mentioned 30 hours. That's 16. Where do you come up with the others? Well, there's the understanding that whenever you go back home, you are putting in some additional hours, some additional reps. So that's basically where they come up with the entire structure. So, and I'll link everybody down below. So if you have any interest in going the online route, I'll give you my preferred online real estate school down below, and then also my in-person preferred linked down below. So that's something that you'll always have available in the description. Now, in the in-class experience, what's happening is, again, to get that one credit, you're talking about Monday and Tuesday, you show up, and on Tuesday, you sit for that test for the course. Every single course that you take, every single credit that you are trying to claim or obtain, you do have to sit for a test, sit for an exam. So this is not the actual real estate exam. This just means that you are good to go with that course. So if you're taking the contracts course as an example, you do need to pass the exam that tests on what you learned. So there you can see that if you don't have either employment or you're doing part-time and you have the time to go in class, you can see how this would be extremely advantageous for your speed, so for the timeline to be accelerated. So at the moment that I got my real estate license, I actually got it done in about 5 weeks because I had several things going on in between. So and I did this in person, by the way. I would go to the school on Monday and Tuesday, and then whenever they did offer the next class that I needed to go to, it would be either a Wednesday and a Thursday or a Saturday and a Sunday. So that was the schedule that was most common. Now, in person typically does have evening classes, but there it's not a 2-day affair. The evening classes they're going to vary, but generally it's about 6 to 10 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So there it's 4 days of evening classes so you can get that full credit. So again, this is something that is going to vary across the board. But if you go in person, generally you're going to receive the information a lot quicker. So when it comes to the timeline perspective, it just matters it matters a lot if you have something else going on in your life. If you have a full-time employment, then it's going to be extremely difficult for you to go to the classes every single day. There, you are looking more for the weekend classes, which they are offered by most real estate schools. So you would have to go to in-person real estate school Saturdays and Sundays. So just give you an entire array of the timeline, but both of those, if you're diligent with your schooling and you're flexible on your time, you can easily or comfortably finish your real estate courses relatively quickly. So we're talking about 4 to 6 weeks if you really are diligent with your work. So that's giving you a little bit more of perspective. All right, so Axion token, Jaime in the house. Hey, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. So again, we're talking about the real estate school and what to expect because there's just a lot of information out there on what it's even like. So I wanted to give you a full perspective on what it looks like. So from a timeline perspective, that's what you can expect before you sit for the exam. So once you've completed your training, once you've completed all of your courses, you submit your paperwork into your respective state that you're wanting to be licensed in, and then you get the authorization to sit for the exam. Once you submit that and you get the authorization for the exam, then you go on to schedule your exam at a testing center. So that's generally the breakdown. Now, some of the things that you're going to be asked for is going to be fees. There's plenty of fees to go around. You're going to be asked for your background check. You're going to be asked for your fingerprints. You're going to be asked for the credits that are necessary before you can sit for the exam. And then you're going to ultimately take the exam. Now, it's a pass or fail type of a deal, meaning that if you pass, great. If you don't pass, well, let's try it again. Every time that you try to test again, know that there's going to be an additional fee to consider. Every single test, regardless of the state, has a state portion and a national portion. So you have to pass both of them. You don't have to pass both of them at the same time, but you have to pass both of them in order to have your real estate license. So you may go into the classroom or into the testing center and go in and pass the state exam, but you might fail the national exam. That's fine. It does happen. People fail. It's part of life. But at the end of the day, once you get that one out of the way, then you only have to focus on the national exam moving forward. So you don't have to take both of those again. You just have to focus on the national exam if you happen to fail that part of the exam. I hope that makes sense. So that's a little bit more about the timeline. Let's talk about the cost. The cost is going to vary across the board, of course, because of the state that you happen to be in. In Texas, it's a little bit more expensive because there's 180 hours to contend with. Now, when it comes to the real estate school, online, 100% out of the time, it will be less expensive. So if you're getting your real estate school education or your education for real estate, then expect the online courses to be less expensive. The in-person is going to be a little bit more expensive because the in-person experiences have overhead. They have the instructors that have to be in every single classroom. They have to furnish every single classroom. They have to have a commercial lease. They have to worry about parking. They have to worry about a lot of different overhead costs that an online school doesn't have. Very much like the brick and mortar real estate brokerages that are out there. So you have the Keller Williams of the world, Century 21s of the world, Remaxes. You see the brick and mortars versus a company like eXp Realty, which happens to be the brokerage that I'm with. We're all virtual. So that's why we're able to operate the revenue share program, the stock awards, and the very competitive split when it comes to the commission. So it's very much the same thing. So when it comes to the online experience with online real estate school, in order to get your credits to sit, you can expect to pay about $300 to $600 depending on the online real estate school that you go with, and also depending on the program that you select, because every single school is going to have a different level of preparation. Some of them are just going to offer you the credits. Some of them are going to sell the books as well. Some of them are going to offer test prep. Some of them are going to offer a money back guarantee. Now, for my money, when it comes to online real estate school, my preferred one is Real Estate Express. And there's a discount link down below if you're interested in going with that course, with that real estate school that's online. That's the one that I use for all of my continuing education credits. So when it comes to the online, in the term of cost, online just will not be beat. Now, of course, you want to take into consideration how you best learn. If you're not an online learner and do not have the discipline to learn online, then please don't take the online course, because it may seem pretty inexpensive right now, which in reality it is. But if you're not going to learn the material, and if it's going to take you much longer to implement, then what's the point? If you're not going to absorb it, if you're not going to end up passing, then that $300 to $600 that you paid actually is costing you more to go down the online route. You know yourself, you know your education style or the way that you absorb the information. So it's incumbent upon you to make that wise decision. If you're the person that absolutely needs to be in a classroom, that's okay. There's a lot of folks that are that way. It doesn't make you better, it doesn't make you worse. It just means that you are self-aware enough to understand that. So when it comes to cost, if you go in the in-person experience, that's going to be roughly $1,000, give or take a couple $100. Again, it just varies all across the board. Some real estate schools are pretty intimate, meaning that they're only going to take a couple of folks in at a time, so they can really feed into you, really pour into you as much as possible. There's real estate schools out there that are pretty huge, that are mega, that have that have 10 rooms going on at once. So those can be a little bit less expensive, but then you pay what you pay for. You get what you pay for. But at the end of the day, again, it's about $1,000, give or take, because that's going to factor in books, that's going to factor in overhead, that's going to factor in paying the professors, and it's going to factor in all of the equipment and all that fun stuff. So there's pros and cons to every single thing. You just need to understand and be self-aware enough what makes sense for you. But when it comes to cost, that's what you can expect with real estate school. So this is something that you absolutely need before you sit for the exam. I just want to make sure that you're aware of that. All right, so something that nobody talks about when you're in real estate school, and I had to learn the hard way, is the recruitment. You will get recruited. You are going to be like the most awesome, you're going to be like the perfect prom date that every single one's going to ask you to the prom. Every single brokerage out there, regardless if it's EXP, if it's Remax, if it's Century 21, if it's Keller Williams, every real estate brokerage is going to court you. Every single one of them is going to ask you to the prom. Expect that. Now, you're going to get solicited, you're going to get recruited regardless, whether you go the online route or the in-person. So we'll start with the in-person and make our way back. In-person, well, the beauty of real estate school is that you're going to get fed, and you're going to get fed well. So in-person real estate school is pretty cool because you're going to get breakfast paid for, and you're going to get lunch paid for. It's called sponsorship. So you're going to have either a title company, or you're going to have a lender, or you're going to have a brokerage sponsor the breakfast. And then you're also going to have a title company or a lender or a brokerage sponsor the lunch. Now, the way that works is the real estate schools understand the asset that they have, and that's you. You are the product. You are the asset. You're the one that's being marketed to. You're the real estate agent that is coming to learn to be in the profession. So real estate brokerages, title companies, lenders all understand this. So they want to get in front of you as quickly as possible because you don't have those relationships. Chances are you know nobody in the real estate industry outside of the professor that's starting to form you as a real estate agent. But beyond that, you don't know. You don't know anything about brokerages. You don't know anything about lenders. You don't know anything about title companies outside of you purchasing or selling your own house. So whenever somebody sponsors a lunch or a breakfast, they get 5 to 15 minutes to pitch to you. They're going to pitch to you every single day. So that's why I actually personally liked that recruitment aspect, because I was fed incredibly well, meaning that you had a broker that signed up to be the sponsor for that particular day. They're going to bring in some food, and then they're going to wait for you to eat and get all that fun stuff. They're going to make their pitch on why they're the best brokerage out there and pass around their business card and invite you to call them. And it's an effective way to market because you don't know anybody in the industry. So I went through the recruitment cycle. I went to the Keller Williams of the world, the Century 21s of the world, the Remaxes of the world, and I went through the cycle. I ended up first with a boutique real estate brokerage, and then I signed up with eXp Realty, which was a fantastic decision. But it's something for you to be aware. That's what ends up happening. You get recruited. Now, at the same time, because you're online, it doesn't mean that you get away from this recruitment. You are going to be solicited regardless. So simply because you think, well, I don't want to be recruited, I don't want to be solicited to, I don't want that stuff, I'm going to go online, you're not going to escape. Because the reason being is because the state will give your contact information away. Let me rephrase that. They'll sell that information. So brokerages have access to that. Brokerages will know when you sign up for the exam. Brokerages will know when you sat for the exam. So they're going to call you, say, hey, Jaime, have you selected a brokerage yet? You're just going to have that. So your phone number or your phone is going to blow up. It's just going to receive a lot of calls. So be aware and be expecting that. Now, it's not a bad thing. Again, it's something that brokerages need real estate agents. You are the product. We are the product. So it's not a bad thing that you're being recruited. Just be aware that that's happening. So the more that you're aware, the better you can prepare yourself. So what you're going to ask these brokerages is, what's your split? What fees do you have? How are you going to support me in my education and my formation as a real estate agent? And how will you help me grow my business? At the end of the day, it is your responsibility to grow your business. However, you do want to align yourself with the brokerage that fits the mold, that fits your style. So as an example, the reason I have one of the fastest growing EXP Realty teams out there is because I and my team, we actually do the paid lead generation strategy for you. So we actually run your ads. So you don't have to worry about lead generation whenever you're starting out. That's why, again, I have one of the fastest growing teams at EXP at the moment, because I offer so much value to every single agent that I sponsor that I've been able to really help out a ton of real estate agents, and a few of them are actually on their way to icon status, which means that they will have sold about 25 to 30 homes in a calendar year, which gives them the opportunity of receiving the $16,000 that they paid into the brokerage back in stock. So if you are interested more in that information, then I'll link it up here once we get through with the live stream, so you get the entire breakdown of what that looks like. But just give you an expectation on the recruitment aspect. So that's not a bad thing that you're being recruited. Take that as a compliment, but just be informed. Know the questions that you want to ask. Again, the splits, the fees, the support. How are you gonna be supported in growing your business? That's the important part. You're putting in the work, but you also need somebody collaborating with you that is gonna help you and put your best foot forward. All right, so also test expectations. This one is one that I'm saying more for myself. When it comes to tests, the test, it's a little bit more involved than you would think. Do not blow this test off. I repeat, do not blow this test off. This is from somebody that is really good at exams. And I'm going to say the following at the risk of sounding obnoxious, but I was valedictorian in my high school. I was the #1 business student at my university. And in my MBA program, I was #1. And then I took the GSAT to get into my MBA program. So I understand taking exams, and I'm pretty darn good at it. I blew off the real estate exam, and I barely passed. I was sweating bullets. I was fully prepared to take the exam again because I just took it for granted. I felt that I got the formation. I felt that the real estate school was just so easy. I was acing all of these exams. So whenever you go in class again, I was in person for my personal in class before I got my license. I went, and every single time we had our exam on day 2, I would beat everybody. I would get a perfect score. It was fantastic. Again, I'm pretty obnoxious when it comes to the test, and I'm a pretty good student. But I was acing everything. So I felt, well, I mean, it's that easy. I don't have to prep. I don't have to do anything. And that really, 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 really bit me in the butt because I was so prepared to take the exam again. I don't know how I passed. By the grace of God, thank you. I ended up passing the first time, but I was sweating bullets. It was way more difficult than I expected. So when it comes to test expectations, do not take the test lightly. I'm not trying to scare you. I know some of you may fear the math, may fear the contracts, may fear the material. Don't. Just respect it. Do not fear it. Just respect it. That's the best thing that I could tell you. Do not blow off the exam prep. Do the exam prep. If your online real estate school offers that, as an example, Real Estate Express does offer that. And they also have a no pass, no pay guarantee. So that's why I endorse them full-heartedly. But your in-person class or your in-person school will also have some test prep. So make sure that you take the test prep because the test is no joke. So again, I cannot stress this enough. I'm not trying to scare you. Just respect the exam, respect the test, because it is not as simple as some people will lead you to believe, but it's also, on the contrary, it's also not as difficult as you're making it out to be. There's a little bit of math. I know some of us feel a little bit funky when it comes to math, but it's not that difficult. We're just talking about a simple conversion of from feet to miles, or acres, I'm sorry. It's not that difficult. So just wanted to prepare you and give you the real estate school experience so you knew what to expect. If you're thinking about jumping into the profession, it's a rewarding profession. It really is. The sky is the limit. The amount of work that you put in typically is the amount of income that you pull out. So if you're somebody that is quite a good worker, somebody that is diligent and wants to build a business on your own time, it's going to involve time. Don't think that you're going to get into real estate and you're going to have all this free time. No. If you think that that's what's going to happen, then you're going to go out of business. When you enter the industry, know that you're going to obviously put in the work, and the amount of work that you put in is so incredibly related to the amount of income that you produce. So if you want to be successful in real estate, it takes hard work. It obviously does. But beyond that, it's a rewarding career. It's made millionaires and some billionaires in depending on the format that you do it, but it's made a lot of millionaires out of folks right out of high school, right out of their second career, right out of their third career, in retirement. It has made a lot of wealthy individuals, so then they can live the quality of life that they want for themselves and their family. This is my real estate, I guess, experience, if you will. So this is a real estate school, and this is more about what to expect at the real estate school. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them down below, and I'll see you next, when is it? I'll see you on Friday.